3 days ago, an Indian student took his own life at a detention centre in Melbourne. He was in that centre because he overstayed his visa. Could that have been avoided?
Could he have avoided overstaying his visa?
Could he have been? Is there a better way to deal with a student who overstays his visa?
Well, Barry, I want to be careful on this matter. It's the subject of a police investigation at the moment, which could obviously then go to a coronial inquiry. And this individual was in detention only for a relatively brief period of time. He went into there in January. And there are a range of other very personal and complicating factors around this case, which for privacy reasons, I think it would be very unfair for me to canvass on your program. This is a very complicated and tragic case, and it's one that you would always hope to be avoided. But I think, bring this down to a simple baseline of people being in detention would be to completely misunderstand and oversimplify a very tragic and complicated situation.
So you're saying there are factors at work here that go beyond the sort of conditions and stresses that come with being in a detention centre?
Yes.
OK. Now, on Friday at a Senate hearing, there were 16 denominations, churches, who talked about the government's position on the Migration Act. You want to change it to give you more discretionary powers. Now, they say that would allow you to play God.
Well, I don't agree with that. It's simply the arrangements that were previously in place effectively, but with this one improvement. What used to happen previously to ensure our complementary protection obligations were honoured was that at the end of a refugee claim, if that was unsuccessful, then a case would be elevated to the Minister to consider any complementary protection measures. Now, what I will ensure under the measures that I've put forward in the Parliament and the administrative arrangements that will support that is that any complementary protection issues that are identified in the conduct of interviews or others will be immediately elevated. Because I know when I was opposition, one of the issues that those very churches had was that it took so long for complementary protection elements of any claim to be assessed. Now, I'll fix that. But equally, I'm not going to put in place, and I don't want to have in place, a statutory process that basically just puts another product on the shelf for people smugglers, which is what I'm seeking to remedy.
A former minister, though, Chris Evans, said that it gave him too much power. The workload was too great. And the churches are saying, the task force, that if the minister gets it wrong, there could be dire consequences for the individual.
Well, I think what's important is that you take all the advice and have the full resources of the department to assist with these decisions. I'm not going to comment on Senator Evans' work ethic. That's for him to reflect on. I'm certainly committed to this task and ensuring all these matters are considered fairly and quickly. Senator Evans thought it was the right idea to roll back border protection policy, which saw over 50,000 people turn up on over 800 boats and over 1,100 people were dead. So I'm not going to start citing Senator Evans as a model in this area.
Now, just finally, reported in The Australian yesterday, the government is considering spending $3 billion to buy giant unmanned drones to patrol the borders that would be used, at least in part, to track asylum seekers and illegal fishermen. Is that under consideration?
Well, I wouldn't be confirming one way or the other what Cabinet or NSC would be considering, Barry. I think that would be highly inappropriate.
If you were to invest that sort of money, though, in unmanned drones, that would suggest you think this problem is going to be around for quite a long time yet.
Well, you're assuming that any such proposal would only be addressing those sorts of issues. And I'm sure that after matters are fully considered and in their proper context, then appropriate statements will be made.
Minister, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks very much, Barry.